We're going to talk about product funnels. Everybody is going to have a different opinion on which product funnel works better. Truth of the matter is that they all work. It's all circumstantial. So there are a few different key product funnels that I use and that I have used and that I will use and that I will forever use and that everyone else uses. The reason why they use them is because they work. So you have 4 different types. You have an ascension model, you have a basic funnel, you have a what I call high ticket to higher ticket, and then you have a downsell funnel, and then you have a product suite. So let's talk about what an ascension model is first. And a lot of people think that for an ascension model, you need, 7 different products, and you need an OTO, which is a one-time offer. You need an OTO 1, OTO 2, you need a downsell 1, downsell 2, depending on where they go in the funnel. I think it works, but I don't think it works as well as everyone thinks that it works. It is hyper sophisticated, it is circumstantial, and it really depends on the offer that you're running. Now, if you want an example of what I'm talking about, there are some supplement companies. If you guys have ever bought supplements online, and there's a lot of affiliate marketers who build these landing pages and things like that. Now, it's not info only. I remember Greg O'Gallagher when he was doing Kino Body back in like 2014, 2015, 2016. He had a really cool downsell and upsell funnel. And if you want to go and look at these funnels, go look at Ty Lopez's funnel hack, look at Kino Body funnel hack, and just look at some of the big info marketers and just type funnel hack on YouTube. And usually it's just someone going through their old funnel, buying their product. And what I want you to do is I want you to look at all of these different funnels, and I want you to see how it's structured. So where does the first upsell go? Where does the second upsell go? Where does the third downsell go if you don't buy this? This is typically called an ascension model. The ascension models are interesting. And the reason why they're interesting is because they have a lot of offers. I recommend, and what I've seen and what my friends who were big in info, and I've worked with tons and tons of clients, I've worked with most of the big guys in the info space on the client side. It's 3 products. It is a liquidator or an SLO, self-liquidating offer, which is basically like a $20 to $50 product that pays for the cost of the customer acquisition on the front end, or basically monetizes the sawdust or the broke people that don't want to buy the product in the first place. This is a SLO. That's anywhere from $7 to $50 usually. And it's just to get the customer in a buying state, just so that you have some sort of data on a Facebook pixel or a Google tracking analytics or in your customer database. SLOs are mini courses, documents, videos, mini programs that people buy in order to not only get something, but as a top of funnel acquisition strategy. What is a top of funnel acquisition strategy? Top of funnel acquisition strategy is basically, how do we get people at the top of the pyramid? It's a reverse pyramid, a funnel. How do we get people, put people into the top? But how do we liquidate, which means pay for the cost of advertising at the top while we run a self-liquidating offer, which is $20 to $50. And the more sales that we get on that, the more customers that we can put into our funnel so that we can continue marketing to them using sales and marketing and campaigns in order to get them to buy more stuff. And then, depending on how they convert, you can basically build what's called a predictable revenue model into your business. And this is actually how you scale. Now, you can also do this with organic, but same. So ascension models are, usually there's a lot of people, especially in the old days of internet marketing, there were, 7, 8 different offers. There was the upsell, downsell, cross-sell here. There was everything going on all at once. So if you're brand new, don't worry about this. The only ascension model that you should think about is creating a product suite and an ecosystem. And that does not mean the same thing as what I'm going to talk about a little bit later in this video. But what I want you to do is think about, okay, you have one offer, you have another offer, and you have a third offer. Within CourseGuru, we have the first offer, which is the program, the course, which you're watching right now. The second offer is a coaching and mentorship where we work with you and help you build an info product business and help you become successful. Third is a mastermind. If you want to find out more about those, book a call with one of our student success reps. and we'll get you sorted. We are going to sell you something, but we'll get you sorted. So the next funnel that we have is a basic funnel. And this is a one product funnel. It is literally just opt-in page to a product. Now, my first info product company, Cashflow Syndicate, was literally this. And I think we had 2,500, 3,000 people on recurring subscription at one point, and we were making loads of money. It was great. And we had no upsells, and it was one product, and it was great. And it was just a cash flow machine. And it was like 92.5% profit margins after processing fees. And the cost to run the business was like $400. And so all we did was take traffic from social media organically. We never ran a paid ad, and we just popped them into the top of the funnel. And as many people that we could get to the landing page as possible, we got this many opt-ins, and then we converted this many customers. And what I did was I put an interstitial opt-in page, which means in order to get the checkout, in order to get to the checkout, I made it look like an onboarding form. And so since it looked like an onboarding form, what ended up happening was we knew that every single person on the email list was someone who was interested in purchasing. This was all an abandoned checkout. So all we had to do was remarket to them with automations, and we sold the product. I made tons of money. That's how I made my first $1 million in business revenue. My first $1 million that I ever saw on a Stripe account was from that business at $55 a month. So we had thousands of customers, $55 a month, $20 a week, $500 for the year. Now, quickly, where I went wrong here was I didn't have the experience back in the day when I was 24 and 25 years old to go and create an ascension model. I didn't know back in the day, and this was just my naivety and my wanting to relax and not really work and make loads of money and drive fast cars and hang out in Los Angeles and travel the world. But I left about $12 million on the table. And the reason I know it's $12 million is just I ran the raw conversion data on the other two offers that I didn't have. And so I realized that the total number of customers times a very small conversion percentage at a nominal fee equated to about 11.2 to $12 million that I left on the table by not implementing an ascension funnel. If you're starting out, I recommend one product, basic funnel, this product, opt in here, they get the lead magnet, and then you sell them. One product to start, validate your product, validate your offer, and then build upon it. So that is probably one of the best info businesses you can start. A lot of people are doing this now with paid communities and groups on different platforms. Like I said, I recommend WAP right now. So what I would say is if you're starting out in this business, you want to make sure you understand the basics, you understand the fundamentals, you understand how to market, you understand how to sell. You get your systems in place. You stress test your systems, you stress test your people, your operations, and your organization. That funnel of one product, opt-in, the information goes to the sales team calls behind them if they don't buy, allows you to stress test your systems. This is great for promotions as well with, different products, just one funnel. Now, third is high ticket into higher ticket, which is the program that you're watching now. So this program, you paid probably about $2,000 for it, US dollars, of course. And then we have an upsell coaching program, which is phenomenal. And then we have a mastermind in person where it's quarterly, we meet 4 times a year, and it's here in Los Angeles. So high ticket to higher ticket. Everything makes sense. And as the customers come through, we move the customers through the course. We get them into the coaching where if they really want the help and they need the help because the course is going to show you a lot of things, but in order to perfect it and just speed everything up, we do the coaching. The mastermind is going to show you the real secrets, and you're going to be able to network with other individuals in the space, and you're going to be able to share what's working for you, what's working for us, and what we're doing in order to grow the business and push the envelope. High ticket to higher ticket. Now, downsell is you have some sort of product. Let's take CourseGuru for example, which we're not doing in this example. CourseGuru, and then you have the downsell, which is like some little version of it that isn't as good as the main version, but it's cheaper because you're trying to monetize to different people. You're just trying to get that customer data in. It's basically a reverse liquidating offer is how I would explain it. And so you have this product that's a lot of money, and then as they go through the funnel or as they go through the model, it's a reverse ascension model, and you're constantly downselling the customer to increase marginally the lifetime value of the customer, the LTV. So I don't really recommend using those. They're kind of sophisticated. They're same as like the ascension model with like all the different offers and old school internet marketing stuff. But that being said, this will move us on to the product suite, which is something that I have now, which is really cool. So in my product suite of different products, like we can have all these different offers. Like I'll be able to sell the mastermind as a one-off. I'll be able to sell the coaching as a one-off. I'll be able to sell CourseGuru as the main course as a one-off. And we have Agency Sync, the software. We have all these different little things that we can cycle through and sell. That being said, I also have the same thing that exists within the other course I did, which was the agency course. We have all these different products. We have different things that people can buy. We have different coaching. We have the course. We have the coaching. We have all these different things, which allow us to, anytime we want to do marketing, or anytime we want to do marketing to a list, or we have, customer data or something like that, anytime, literally, I can snap my fingers and my sales guys are going to spring into action. I can sit and I can write emails, and I can have my copywriters write emails and send sales emails. And we can do all this stuff. And we can basically print money from the sky, depending on what it is that you want to sell, depending on what the meta is, and depending on what's hot. So with a product suite, you can sell all the products that you see fit. And I wrote this down. And it works when you build massive infrastructure and ecosystems in the business, as you can capture loads of different leads with all your different lead magnets. You can capture loads of customer data, loads of different ideal client profiles, lots of different demographics. And what you can do is you can also automate this stuff. And you can automate all these different funnels based on segmented customer data. So we have lists for CourseGuru, we have lists for Agency Course, we have lists for a bunch of different things. And what we're able to do is we're able to market to these customers when we want to do a promotion, when we want to do this, when we want to do that. And so you're able to build in all these different verticals and make money from all these different verticals until you basically don't want to make money from this anymore. So, or until it stops working. So that being said, these are the different types of product funnels. Now, also in this video, I want to talk about a few other things. So I want to talk about the fact that you have two ways that people convert. You have marketing campaigns and you have sales. Sales is a salesperson on the phone, essentially convincing someone to buy something, helping them understand that they should buy this product and make a decision on buying the product. I don't need to complicate this here. We're in this business to make money. Your sales team's job is to sell stuff, to get them on the phone, to overcome objections, and to make them understand that it's a good decision to buy your product. Because if you're following this course, you want to make the best products possible. You don't want to be a grifter. You don't want to be a scammer. You want to make the best products possible, and you want to give people value. So that's sales. Now, marketing is a little bit different. Your marketing campaigns, and a lot of people think about, and I want to make this very clear. A lot of people think about, I need to make a product before I start marketing the product. Now, this is absolutely not true. I'm going to explain why. Because your marketing should be priming the customer and priming the audience and priming the prospect so that when you do buy something, you don't even need a sales team. The marketing does all the selling for you. This is old school stuff. Now, when the marketing does all the selling for you, you don't need a sales team. That means you're a really good marketer. Now, you're going to need people on the phones. You're probably going to need people, especially with higher ticket stuff. You're probably going to need people on the phones to talk to people, because people do business with people and people like talking to people when they want to make buying decisions. You're probably going to need that. So marketing primes the audience so that there's less resistance for the sales team or the salesperson or you to make money. There's less resistance from the buyer side. And then the way that we get even less resistance is we dial in the messaging and we dial in the psychology, which you're going to learn in the psychological marketing section of this course. So we have three ways that we can sell. We have webinars, which are live sales pitches. Also seminars, which are super old school now, but people still do seminars, are basically live webinars. They're live sales pitches. We have video sales letters. These are pre-recorded, similar to the one that you probably saw on the website here for CourseGuru. And we have sales letters, which don't include a video. These are Google Docs. These are emails. These are long form. It's just a long form direct response copy style thing. For marketing campaigns, we have two different types of launches. We have soft launches through Telegram, which I've already explained in this course. And we have Blitzkrieg, which are hard launches where you're just ramming the product down the prospect's throat. You're doing everything you possibly can in a short amount of time to get people to buy. You also have, in terms of marketing, you have webinars or free courses, like the one that most of you watched for CourseGuru, and you have offer stacks. So all these different things are how you sell your products. Like I said, you only have two ways that you sell your products. A lot of them are the same. Sometimes you need to use a combination of this stuff. You don't really need to use a combination of this stuff most of the time. You can just kind of use one. Like there were guys, I'm recording this in 2024. There were guys last year in 2023 that made millions of dollars doing webinars. Like they didn't even have VSL. It was just traffic from TikTok, Twitter, social media, Snapchat, YouTube, wherever they were pulling traffic from. Hey, opt in for my free class, my free training. We do it every Wednesday at 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. There were also guys that crushed it with automated webinars where it was like every 15 minutes you could join the webinar and watch the sales pitch, right? And then they were just selling the webinar, and then that was it. And they made tons of money. They would make like 20 to 50 grand a night. And every Wednesday, hey, I'm going to get on the webinar and in an hour and a half, I'm going to make 50 grand, which is great. You need a lot of traffic for that though. Video sales letters, essentially, it's just very refined. It's not live. It's not off the cuff. VSLs are more hyper edited, or you can do one like I did for the agency course where it was me walking around in a room eating dumplings, ranting, and that worked pretty well. That did multiple six figures at launch. So you have sales letters. Long form copy is like not the same these days because long form copy is written by copywriters and a lot of people don't read it. Older people read it because they're used to reading the newspaper. Now we live in an attention economy. We live in an information economy. People want information as fast as possible. So keep this in mind when you're doing your sales and when you're doing your marketing specifically. I want to also talk about landing pages. There's only really 3 types of landing pages. And honestly, you should simply just use this as a combination. You have your opt-in page, which is name, email, or name, email, phone number, country. A lot of people are using Typeform. We just use our software that we built. We use Agency Sync. Everything goes straight to the CRM, and then the sales team can call from that. So Typeform, it's a little harder. You have to automate everything. Everything, if you use the software, it's just right in there. You have your opt-in page. You have your sales page, which is usually the first page. And the way that I like to do it is the sales page comes first. It's the VSL. It's the headline. It's the VSL. It's the content. It's the testimonials. It's the structure. And then you have the opt-in page. So in order for them to get to checkout, they got to opt in. We need some sort of information so that we can market to them, so that we can pick that business up. My sales pages have always been and forever will be a combination of these 3. Sales page, the structure of the sales page, then the opt-in page, then checkout. Now we got the back-end infrastructure with sales teams hitting them up. If they abandon checkout, we got them, right? We got their information so that we're not wasting time with tire kickers, or we're not capturing all the data from the traffic that's coming in. It's important. So in terms of fulfillment, how you're going to fulfill, hosting platform. It's going to be linked. We use WAP. So that being said, I will finally answer the question in this video. And I know this is a fairly long one, but it's value packed and it's very important. I want you to pay very close attention to this. Within each ecosystem, within each product that you have, maximum amount of products that you want to have is about 3. I've seen somebody do 5. 3 is really where you want it. And you can have different pricing tiers and pricing and payment plans for these depending on what the product is and how you buy it and things like that. I say 3 within one ecosystem is a really good rule of thumb. If you have a lot of different offers and if you become a very experienced marketer, you can do 5. But I want you to understand this. This is a very important point that I wrote down. The more products that you have to sell, the more times the customer has to say yes. Now, when you have to say yes and you have to whip out your credit card and you have to buy things, what ends up happening is it creates friction. If I said, hey, you have to hand me your credit card 5 times in order to buy this one thing, and if you think about lifetime value or LTV, if you have a target LTV of, let's say, $30,000, and the customer has 7 offers that they have to buy that add up to that $30,000, it's going to be a little harder as the price increases. But if you go from like 2,000 to 10,000 to 18,000, and you get to 30,000, then you're done. And so they only had to say yes 3 times versus having to say yes 7 times. Should there be situations where you're using different models, or maybe they have to say less to cheaper products or more inexpensive products? Sure. But if you have a high target LTV and you want to build a very hyper profitable, sustainable business where you make loads of money and do relatively little work, I recommend the former. I recommend having 3 products with a very limited amount of times that the customer has to say yes, because the more times they have to say yes, it increases something called buying friction, and it lowers something called their buying temperature. And if you have a low buying temperature, you're probably not going to buy the offers moving forward unless you really love that stuff. So some further notes here: templates and softwares. So all the websites are templates. They're all structured. All the marketing campaigns that you're ever going to use are structured because people have done this before. Like I said, we're selling info products. We are not reinventing the wheel. And then all the email templates, a lot of people, they'll say like email templates for marketing or like what you want to use and things like that. I always think that, especially when you're doing info, a really good way to build trust with your audience and with your prospects and with your future customers is to write from the heart, but have a lesson. And so the way that I've always structured it, and I remember I broke this down like a few years ago, was there's the hook, and then there's the introduction to the story. And then something happens in the story where there's an observation or a lesson. So lesson 1, and then I go back to the story. Then there's anecdote 1, or personal. So there's quantitative and qualitative data as to why what I'm saying in the story is true, or why what I'm saying in the story makes sense. And meanwhile, all my stories that I tell are true. A lot of people think that I'm can sit here and make this stuff up. I really can't. On top of that, so you break this down, and so usually there's 1, 2, or 3 lessons or anecdotes that are in the story, which increase your credibility, which increase your authority, and which also give people reasons why they should trust you and why they should buy from you. This is really important. For product hosting, I already gave you guys product hosting. If you guys need domains and you need to set up domains, just use Squarespace domains. Google Workspace for your your website emails. You can use Stripe as a payment processor as well. ConvertKit is the best email service provider for info products. And then you just need Zapier, you need VideoAsk, you need Wistia for hosting VSLs, YouTube, obviously, to post student testimonials and results and things like that. And then there's a widget, and all these things are going to be linked, and I'll show you how to set up everything as well. So that's what you do with your product funnels. That's just a general overview. That's a crash course. That's literally everything you need to know. You can look at examples, and I'll provide some examples in the course and in the program underneath this video. But that's about it. Like 3 products within one ecosystem, and then you build 2 or 3 ecosystems based on your expertise, and you limit the amount of products, you increase the price, you increase the LTV, you figure out which makes sense for your market, and then you focus, man. You focus on dialing in the sales, you focus on dialing in the marketing, dialing in the landing pages, stylizing. Well, I mean, like I said, there's going to be templates and there's going to be examples. And this stuff is about as plug and play as you can get. This is not rocket science. It is very psychologically driven. You have to be a good marketer and you have to really understand people to a T. But that being said, I mean, info is very hard in practice, but it's easy in theory. Now, theoretically, all this sounds good, but to create something great and create a hyper profitable business and smoke all these other people trying to be gurus is what I want you to do. Because this course is going to show you how. All of this stuff is like knowledge that like people don't really know, because they're so used to seeing like these little kids, they'll go on the internet, they'll make a TikTok or they'll make a YouTube video and they'll get some views, and then they'll run the traffic, and then they'll figure out how to make a little bit of money, but then their business ends up going up in smoke. I've seen this time and time and time again over the years and years and years that I've been doing this. It's because they don't understand the principles. It's because they don't understand the marketing. They don't understand how to build a sustainable business. And with this, I just gave you all of the infrastructure. I gave you the 4 or 5 different product funnels what to use, how to use them, when to use them, you're going to do very well. See you guys in the next video.